just jump straight into it. So the first word that we're going to do is called Lao Shi. Lao Shi, of course, means teacher, and it looks like that. This is Lao, and Shi looks like that. So how on earth are we going to remember that this equals teacher? All right, very simple. So this top part of the Lao, this part over here, this is tu. Tu means ground or soil, right? Tu. It's kind of like you've got a ground, and then you dig deeper, and then you've got another ground. So that's why it's, you know, the soil in the ground. And teachers, their knowledge comes from the soil in the ground. You know, it's just so old. The knowledge that they have, this is where knowledge comes from. So I guess that's why they wear it as part of their hat, and it's on their head. Now, teachers also, they kind of, I guess long time ago, they either carry a sword or they carry a sash that kind of goes across the, so imagine this is the teacher, right? You've got a sash or a sword across them that basically demarks them as a teacher, someone who's very wise. And now at the bottom, you've got this little character here, and my wife, who's really good at Chinese, tells me that this is the character for bi, or small sword. Okay, so here you've got one big sword, and here you've got one small sword, the character for small sword, which is very, very interesting. So teachers back then, I'm not sure if they were teaching you know, whatever they were teaching, but I guess this particular teacher here was teaching martial arts. And so you've got one long sword, you've got one small sword, and maybe a little bit of a hook here as well, right? Different ways that you can protect yourself. And of course, all that knowledge comes from the ground, passed on many generations all the way down here. So Lao also means old, right? So you've got the knowledge from the ground, you've got one long sword or a sash, you've got one shorter sword, and a little hook, and that's your Lao. Now what about Shi? Shi looks like this, okay? And it's very interesting because this word looks a lot like, okay, so imagine your teachers give you, you know, something to do, a task list. You've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3, you've got 4. Hey, wait a minute. That's the one, right? It's over here. This is part of this word, shi. Now, of course, not really, but you can always think of Lao Shi, the shi, as saying one. Okay, class, let's start with our first question, one, right? And now, on the right-hand side here, how do you remember this part? Well, this is the Chinese word for one also. So you've got the English word for one, you've got the Chinese word for one, okay? And, very interestingly enough, you've got your Lao Shi, who, you know, in the classroom, a lot of people, whenever teachers start and say, all right, you know, number one, a lot of people get allergy to that. They start to sneeze, they go, achoo, achoo, and you need a cloth, right? And this is Mao Jing, right? This is handkerchief, right? So if this is handkerchief, the Lao Shi will then take out the handkerchief, take out one handkerchief, and give it to you the moment your spelling starts. So once again, Lao, you've got, you know, the ground, the long sword, the small sword, and the hook. And you've got Shi, which is number 1, and number 1, and the handkerchief. It goes down there. Okay, so that's Lao Shi.